From Chris TV, this is Chris 6 News at 10.
Good evening and thank you so much for joining us tonight. He was Corpus Christi's mayor for 5 weeks and a day, and now he's out.
Well, this afternoon, Mayor Dan McQueen posted this on Facebook. He wrote in part, "Consider this my resignation. I resign immediately." Now, he posted that on Facebook just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, and that post also came just minutes after Chris 6 investigative reporter Jessica Savage spoke with McQueen's son. Now, once McQueen knew that his son had spoken with us, he resigned 20 minutes later, and Jessica is now with us with more on what may have prompted McQueen's abrupt resignation.
Lee, it started with a conversation. We spoke with McQueen's estranged son, Wyatt, just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. He confirmed his father and Sherry Douglas, McQueen's chief of staff, do have a romantic relationship that goes back years. Less than an hour after our conversation, McQueen resigned. In a text message exchange to his dad, Wyatt McQueen said, quote, "Chris TV got in contact with me about your relationship." The mayor's response, quote, "Wow." Wyatt responded to his father and said, "I didn't lie for you, and I answered everything they asked the best I could." 20 minutes later, at 1:49 p.m., Mayor McQueen emailed his resignation to the city secretary and then posted this on Facebook. Quote, "Consider this my resignation. I resign immediately." The mayor also posted, quote, "They are now into my ex-wives and kids. Nothing good will come from that mess." This follows days of silence from the mayor about his claims to have an electrical engineering degree and his relationship with Sherry Douglas, which could violate the city's ethics and nepotism policies. And it comes just 2 months after voters overwhelmingly elected him over incumbent Nelda Martinez. Since at least 2014, McQueen has claimed a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Florida State University. We checked, and Florida State officials have no record of him attending. As for Sherry Douglas, driver's license and voter registration records show she and the mayor have shared an address since 2012. After McQueen was elected, Douglas changed her home address to a P.O. box. And there's more. Tonight, Six Investigates has been looking into another claim that McQueen has made, and it surrounds his business dealings. McQueen says he's an entrepreneur. He also says he's managed multi-million-dollar projects and businesses. But we didn't find anything to support those claims. But we did find this. We got these court files that show a pattern of behavior. The files are from a 2007 Bexar County court case when McQueen was sued for breaking a lease. It was in this shopping center in San Antonio where McQueen rented space for a karate school. McQueen still owes money, and there's a $25,000 lien on his property on Leopard Street. Not only that, McQueen was fined twice during the lawsuit for failing to turn over documents. And McQueen's attorney withdrew from the case after he had, quote, difficulty communicating with McQueen. Another business that didn't go anywhere was a kick-ended campaign in 2012. The campaign was to raise money for a documentary called Party Hard. That was about Corpus Christi's homeless problem.
Okay, so maybe now it's time to take the gloves off.
But that campaign didn't raise a single dollar. Also that year, McQueen started a home business with Sherry Douglas. The company was called Sign Turbine. In 2015, McQueen spoke at Del Mar College about the business. He described it as an alternative power startup company. We could find no records on the company. Since we began our investigation over 5 weeks ago, we've given McQueen multiple opportunities to answer questions regarding our reports. But he hasn't responded to any of our repeated phone calls or emails. And Lee, he hasn't responded to us in person.
All right. Thank you very much, Jessica. Very interesting here. Well, McQueen's resignation is not good news for the Chapman Ranch business interest.
Now, you may remember that that's where an 81-turbine wind farm is going up. McQueen's latest campaign finance record report shows that those business interests gave McQueen $6,000 the day after he won the November election. And it looks like he needs it because McQueen spent $20,000 of his own money on the campaign, and that's money that he's trying to get back. As a matter of fact, McQueen just announced a golf tournament charging up to $1,500 per foursome to help with his campaign expenses, but it's unclear how much he's raised so far or even whether that tournament will still be held. But this is an interesting part. That tournament is not planned in Corpus Christi. It's instead planned to be played at the North Shore Country Club, which is in Portland. So with Dan McQueen out, What happens next? Chris 6 News anchor Jennifer Lita joins us now from the newsroom as our team coverage continues. So, Jen, tell us who's next in line.
Well, staff tonight, District 1 Councilwoman Carolyn Vaughn takes over as mayor pro tem. But the bottom line here is that voters will have to elect a new mayor. Vaughn will serve as acting mayor until at least the next city council meeting on January 24th, when the council will officially accept Dan McQueen's resignation. However, because of a recent charter amendment, the council member who received the most at-large votes in the last election will be named interim mayor. That person is Joe McComb. It appears McComb would serve as interim until a new mayor is elected in a special election, which is required because McQueen had more than a year left on his term. Now, we're told that that election could be held in May or it could be held in November. We're going to find out more in next week's council meeting. So, of course, we'll keep you posted on that in the newsroom tonight. Jennifer Lita, Chris 6 News.
All right, thank you, Jen. Meanwhile, two men have already announced their intentions to run for mayor in that special election. Chris 6 News reporter Andrew Ellison joined us live from City Hall tonight to tell us about them. Andrew.
Lee, their names should be familiar to many of our viewers. We're talking about Mark Scott and Chad McGill. Both men are former city council members, and both were on the council that preceded this current one. Announcing their mayoral campaigns this evening, two familiar faces. One of them, former two-term councilman Chad McGill. He served 2 years as District 2's rep, then 2 at large.
We certainly need a mayor with leadership skills that, frankly, listens to the people and works with the media and works with people to get the job done.
Also announcing his mayoral bid this evening, former 8-term councilman Mark Scott, who was already planning on running in 2018.
I'm concerned that we have had indecision with lack of vision, and I think the council has the ability to be decisive with a vision, and I think I can help make that happen.
Currently unsure if she'll run, Corpus Christi's last mayor, Nelda Martinez, who served 2 terms as mayor and multiple terms as a council member before that.
That conversation is yet early. We've had many challenges in the past, but I have always seen my hometown get past through significant challenges.
And again, as we've reported, that special election will either happen in May or November. And as you can imagine, this has been a long day for the city's current city council members. Chris 6 News reporter Priscilla Torres has more on their reactions to McQueen's resignation.
All week long, we've been hearing from council members their thoughts on Dan McQueen's Facebook posts, his background credentials, and who he hired as his chief of staff. And tonight, we spoke to a few of them about his resignation.
I appreciate that Dan McQueen resigned because the city needs to move forward. And with all this stuff going on and the focus on that, it wasn't possible for us to do that. So I'm glad that he did that. Now we need to move forward with the business of the city.
It has been crazy, but Corpus Christi is a resilient city. And I guess in one way it's fortunate that if it was going to happen, that it happened this quick so we can get it behind us and move on with pretty much the full term left.
We've got too many important issues. We want business to come to Corpus Christi and the surrounding areas. We need to stay positive, and we need to have a really great image of our city, and that kind of image fighting on Facebook is not the right image to have.
And for more on the resignation status of Dan McQueen's Chief of Staff, Sherry Douglas, here's Chief Investigative Reporter Rick Spruill.
No doubt a very complicated and fluid situation tonight, but there's one way of describing Sherry Douglas's status with the city. It's in limbo. And it's in limbo because the mayor's chief of staff works for the mayor, not for the city. So if she hasn't resigned to McQueen, then technically she still works there. But all that aside, questions remain about who Douglas really is and why the mayor went to such lengths to keep the public in the dark about her role in his life. She used Facebook to tell 6 Investigates earlier this week that McQueen has been her good friend for decades. But McQueen's own son, Wyatt, says it's been much more than that, telling 6 Investigates today that Douglas and the mayor have been romantically involved for years. And that lines up with what McQueen's former campaign treasurer Cliff Harris told 6 Investigates last week when he described Douglas as McQueen's live-in girlfriend. But with McQueen's resignation today, many of those questions become moot, and new questions take their place. The main one being whether the city's nepotism policy, which forbids domestic partnerships between city employees, is sturdy enough to handle one of the more complicated situations anyone's seen in years.
And we need to, after this whole thing has happened, we need to look at the policy period on what criteria we have when you run for office.
Rick Spruill, 6 Investigates.
And if you'd like to review more of our coverage on Dan McQueen, just visit our website. That's kristv.com. And you can also follow us on social media for all the latest developments on this story. Well, coming up, a death row inmate from Corpus Christi scheduled for execution in just a few days.
We spoke with a man about the shocking murder that stunned Corpus Christi 13 years ago.